APA style, the basics. Hello and welcome. This short video is going to introduce you to some of the basics of citing using APA style. Let's get going. APA is a style of writing and formatting for academic documents such as books and student papers. It's described in detail in the Style Guide published by the American Psychological Association, which is now on its 7th edition. Edition number 7 was released in October 2019 and includes updates that make using APA simpler and more inclusive. APA addresses two major areas: writing style and referencing. Writing style focuses on the way in which information is communicated, including formatting, organizing, and writing clearly and precisely. The 7th edition introduced a student-specific paper format for the first time and updated language guidelines to be more inclusive and bias-free. Referencing is concerned with the way in which information is cited, including in-text citations and the list of references at the end of the work. The 7th edition updated referencing guidelines to make citing simpler and clarify rules for online sources. This presentation will follow the 7th edition of APA style. At New School of Architecture and Design, we use APA because it's popular. It's commonly used for citing sources within the fields of behavioral and social sciences, which make it well suited for the design disciplines. Design and psychology have a lot to do with each other. Some of the reasons that APA is great include: when everything uses the same format, it's easy to contrast and compare. APA is popular, as we said, so it's well known and therefore it's easy to recognize and understand. It's really helpful when you're not sure how to organize information logically. It looks legitimate and therefore makes you look good and gives you credibility. And, perhaps most importantly for students, it ensures you avoid accusations of plagiarism, which can have negative consequences for academic learning and achievement. So, let's look at the writing format. APA states academic student work should be typed, double-spaced, produced on 8.5 by 11-inch paper, include 1-inch margins and page numbers, and use an accessible and legible font. A student paper consists of three major sections: the title page, the main body of the paper, and the list of references. The title page includes the title of the paper, the student's name, the institution, the course name, the instructor name, and the date. The main body is the student paper itself, the part that you actually write. APA states papers should use headings and subheadings to logically and clearly organize writing so that it's easily understood. In-text citations are used to cite sources, and APA also has rules about clear, unbiased language, for example, using ungendered pronouns such as they and them when appropriate. Rules for references are outlined in the Referencing Guidelines, which cover both in-text citations and reference lists. In-text citations are included in the main body of the text whenever a source is referenced. Think of them like breadcrumbs that point readers to the full source information in the list of references at the end of the work. Whenever you use a source of information in a paper, you must include the author's last name, the date of publication in parentheses, and when appropriate, page numbers. One golden rule of in-text citation is that the author's name must immediately be followed by the date. The two must be next to each other in the text, like this. Let's look at a few examples. Here, the student cites one author and uses an introductory phrase, for example, to introduce that author, then immediately follows the author's name with the date in parentheses. APA only requires last names to be included in the text, although you may want to include some context, for example, author credentials, profession, or background, the first time they're introduced. Where there are two authors, both last names are listed in the in-text citation and immediately followed by the date. For three or more authors, only the first is listed, along with the Latin et al., which is shorthand for and others. Multiple information sources may provide evidence for a fact or statement. In such an instance, each would be listed, along with the date of publication, like this. Listing multiple sources can help strengthen your argument. If the author is unknown, the title of the work can substitute for the in-text citation in the author's last name, with quotation marks used to differentiate it. The date is still required. Organizations can also be authors when an individual is not identified. Direct quotes require a page number. If the quote is found online, you may use a paragraph number to identify the source instead. Paragraph is shortened to para. For every source you reference in text, there should be a complete citation included in your list of references at the end of the paper. Only sources you cited in text should be included in this list. This is one way that APA references is different from a traditional bibliography. Basic rules for your references. Always start on a new page. Indent each new entry with a hanging indent so author names are easy to spot. Arrange your list alphabetically by author's last name. Other names are only listed as initials. List every single author for each work up to 20. If there are more than 20 authors, use an ellipsis after the 19th. Italicize titles, and if there's no author, begin the citation with the title instead. Here's an example of a references page which shows how the hanging indent helps your readers quickly find the author's name. A basic reference requires you include 4 things in the following order: the author's name and first initials, the date of publication in parentheses, the title of the work italicized, and the publisher's name or URL. APA has simplified some rules for references. The place of publication is no longer required for print resources, and for online resources, you no longer need the words retrieved from or a date you accessed the information. Just list the URL in place of the publisher. You can do the same for DOIs or digital object identifiers, which are permanent URLs for scholarly online publications. Remember, there are additional requirements for other resource types. APA has an excellent website which includes lots of examples, but let's look at a few common ones. Here is a book. For a thesis, a thesis requires author, date, title, descriptor of the media in square brackets, thesis, and publisher. A website requires author, date, with day and month if available, or if no date is published, ND is also acceptable, the title, the site name, and the URL. A YouTube video requires the author, in this case, the person or group identified who uploaded the video, the date it was published to YouTube, the title, a descriptor of the media in square brackets, for example, video, the name of the site, YouTube, and the URL. One good tip is to look at existing examples and mirror them, keeping in mind that you want to be using the 7th edition of APA. So that's the basics. We hope this has introduced you to APA and set you on the right path to using this tool for academic excellence and success. If you have questions, reach out to us. We're here to help.